Hello and welcome back to Down the Slope. Unfortunately, I think it's fair to say the roller coaster of a season has actually finally come to an end. Brilliant day on Saturday, and I'm joined by Craig and Liam. Ewan was supposed to be joining us, but unfortunately, he had himself. Wait, Liam, how did you enjoy Saturday?
Oh man, what a fucking start, boys! What a fucking start. I know it was good. It was good. Fitting end to what's obviously been a very enjoyable 6 months or so. Been really good. So I think it's been. I think the only way it could have maybe have been more fitting is if Martin Boyle had just managed to get that ball under control and just stroke home the winner to make it 3-2. It's a favourite scoreline. It's the scoreline that you and I both predicted on Saturday. So it was actually one of our mates was waiting on that for quite a significant bet coming in as well. So had that gone, and I think it would have been party time all round. But can't be too unhappy, can you?
And Craig, not to throw shade on Martin Boyle, but that's twice he's denied us a last second winner against Rangers in a cracking game. Because the 3-all game, mind, he had a chance quite late on there that just never. He had
No, I
that
didn't mind that, to be honest. But
last minute of the game, he skinned about three folk and then he just hit it wide. Like that wasn't a sitter, but he just
right,
hit it wide.
Oh, I do mind the
Oh,
chance you're talking about now.
oh,
Where he sort of
aye.
like he's like good feet in the box, and he just
Aye.
has a shot. I remember that.
no, I'm completely gone on that one, to be honest. See, when he ran through, I was convinced that he was going to score, and he just takes that heavy touch. It was killer. But no, it was a good day all round, to be fair.
Nice. And speaking of good days, got myself. This is the first time in years I've actually bought a home Hibs top because they're only 15 quid at the shop if you want to get your own. But that makes me a bit excited because I reckon that means they're wanting to get the inventory emptied so they can bring in quite an exciting 150 of top. I know we've kind of mentioned it lightly before, but we're getting closer to it coming out now. Liam, you're a very savvy man. What sort of vibe should Hibs be going for with this top?
I just think with centenary tops and with any tops of historical significance, I think clean and simple is always the way to go. I think the simpler the better. Being white sleeves, not a massive fan of the badge that's been floated, but I would like to obviously see some harpage in there because I think that's important. But it's clean and simple for me.
And Craig, for you, would hoops be too sim? Would that be too bold? Because obviously the OG Hibs kit back in 1875, I believe, was green and white hoops, or was it slightly later? I know at
I
some
think for
point
the
it had.
pedants, I think it was maybe 1876 or 1877. It came slightly after, just because you will get people who pick up on that.
It'd be good to wind folk up. Like it would be good purely for that. But I think, to be fair, I'm with Liam on the sort of plain and simple. Just keep it clean.
And as I always say, though, when it comes to, I just hope we don't do what Hearts did and end up getting ourselves a burst nipple on the middle of a white top because I think that top for them looked minging.
First
Um,
nipple.
but yeah, Craig, talk to me. Obviously, quite a few changes in the starting lineup. I think some of them we expected to see some surprises. Um, how did you feel going on ahead of the game? It did feel like one of those ones that we were just inevitably going to win. Like, but obviously we
Yeah.
didn't. But what do you make of the players that came in?
So I think probably the main change would be Alisson and Mane coming in. I think that was probably one everybody was looking forward to seeing, myself included. I was a wee bit surprised that he started, if I'm honest. I think I know it's the last game of the season, so you'd be maybe wanting to get minutes into him, but I still didn't expect him to come in right from the start. Uh, but I thought he was okay. He struggled maybe with the pace of the game to start with. And then as he settled down, ironically, just as he was about to get taken off in the second half, I thought that's when he started to look most comfortable. He was demanding the ball a wee bit more. Uh, so not massively impressing, not massively disappointed with what I've seen. I think it's a first game, and you've got to cut the guy a bit of slack either way.
I think
Give
it
me your
was exactly
thoughts.
the sort of performance you would expect for a guy who's been brought in early to sort of adjust to the league and the speed of the game. It was very quick, the game to begin with. And I thought he did
Yeah,
get over it pretty quickly. I've seen some people saying, maybe struggled for half an hour. I don't think it was quite as long as that. From my view, and what I quite liked about him is he tried a couple of killer balls that didn't come off. So he tried one towards the end of the first half, didn't quite come off. and tried another shortly before he was substituted. But he was being brave in possession, which I think is really important in his position. And then his defensive positioning improved, because I think when they were cutting through us a wee bit in the early sort of stages of the game, a lot of that was just due to him maybe not taking up the right positions from a position, defensive perspective. But he makes a really important block and it's more of a block than interception in his own box, which shows that he's getting his positioning right by being there, albeit it was in a sort of less from a sort of set move, if you like. But I was really encouraged by how he sort of came on in the game.
My main gripe with him at the game, I think hopefully a full preseason would sort it. I just think he didn't look like he was 100% sure what the game plan, like kind of what you were saying earlier. I just don't think he looked like he understood initially what his position was in the press. There was a couple of times where Rangers just kind of made 2 passes and it looked like he was about 10 yards in space. But I think if you kind of got used to what the rest of the team's doing, get a preseason, and I hope we'll see better things. As you say, midfielders being brave on the ball and being left-footed is always things we like to see. But Craig, the first goal, Martin Boyle and Bowie, is probably the starting 2 strikers we're expecting to see next season. Just nice straightforward goal, wasn't it? No controversy, just good old-fashioned football.
So you could take all that stuff out that happened before it. It is a really good goal from our point of view. It starts from the goalkeeper, goes, I think it was Cadden, maybe, it goes down the line, then round the corner to Boyle on a good cutback. It was just a nice flowing move from back to front. Caught Rangers on the hop a wee bit, and a good finish from Bowie. I think sometimes these ones are actually maybe a wee bit more difficult because he has to kind of get over it, because it was just a tad behind him, the ball, and he has to kind of wrap his foot around it. Good, powerful, on target, low. I think 9 times out of 10 these one are going to go in. So yeah, it was a good goal.
Nice. And Liam, obviously Martin Boyle, unfortunately didn't make it 100 goals, but he got up to 99. Just Martin Boyle doing Martin Boyle things. And Nicky Cadden, is simple question: has there ever been in your lifetime a better cross area ball than Nicky Cadden at Hibs?
I don't know, the guy that we somehow end up second in our left backs might have something to say about that. I don't know. To be honest, probably not. But then people say that's just just recency bias. I think he might be the best, and Jordan will beat us really not far behind him in terms of crossing ability. It's actually scary how good the delivery is from that left hand side. It makes me think if we were to just do nothing else, but just sign a big bruiser, like a big 6'5", like shaved headed centre forward. I think he would score a bucket load in this team and probably lay quite a lot on for them, because literally the balls are so good that, saying this to Lee on Saturday, striker doesn't have to do anything. All you've got to do is direct it. I know that's like you're boiling down, making some fight, but you don't have to generate any power onto the headers. You just have to be there and direct it towards goal, which is a fucking dream for centre forwards that are good in the air.
You know what I love as well? Like, he's got a real knack for crosses that make goalkeepers panic. Like Butland, there's realistically not much Butland can actually do with it, but he's absolutely flapping trying to get to the ball before it gets to Boyle. Like,
he's got that dipper as well. You know that one where it just dips and it's like almost like quite a sudden. So there's like a sudden dip on the cross. I've no idea how you manipulate the ball to do that, but it's an absolute nightmare to deal with.
Just whips his foot right round it, and every time, like we've said before, I think what makes it so dangerous as well is just the fact that he doesn't let defenders and goalies get set. It's just, and it's in.
See away from crosses. What about that fucking ball over the top for Boyle as well? Like he was flapping his hands, like about, I don't know, maybe 2 seconds for it because no one was making any movement. He just thought, fuck it, I'm just going to hit the diag.
Oh,
and it just goes, it cuts
the volley
right through everyone. And I was like, you're watching it from where we were on the ground. We just were like in that sharp intake of breath, and you see it fall, and you're like, oh my, what a goal that would have been.
Okay, that was like Robin Van Persie-esque, just like excellent ball, good. Excellent hit. Like that was one of those games I wish you could have a fan cam. Like, imagine there was a service you could pay to have like a camera on one of your mates the whole game, because Craig was salivating about 8 or 9 times during that match at different things his players were doing. Was Barry like? But yeah, not wanting to dwell too much on the game. It did kind of have a like end of season vibe. Like, obviously you always want to beat Rangers, but we done what we needed to do on Wednesday. It was going into the game on Saturday, no matter what, it was going to be part time. Is there any other performances you guys want to big up personally? Just want to say Rocky Bashiri, I thought was excellent. Again, I know there was 2 moments in the game in which you could potentially put on him. I'm not going to have negativity against him because it was potentially his last game. But the tackle where the ball got caught underneath his feet and ended up like pencil rolling, and I think that's what launched the attack for what you got Boyles for the second goal. I just thought Rocky was immense, and then obviously got shoved with 2 hands by Raskin. But whether it's over the line or not, it's still very good last ditch defending from Rocky to actually flick the ball away there. So I just got to give a shout out to Rocky because I couldn't think of anywhere else to squeeze it in. But Liam, Craig, anybody else in the game impressed you?
I'm trying to think.
I was really impressed with Warren O'Hora. I thought like randomly I thought he had quite a good game certainly, and it was quite unusual to see him rampaging forward on a few occasions for right centre back, like almost taking the Lewis Miller brief. I thought he defended pretty well for most of the game as well.
He done a wee flick at one point as well, O'Hora, when he was running forward in the first half. It was lovely. I think maybe it's something that's going to be asked of him in that 3-5-2 role if he's playing the outside centre half, kind of the Miller role, we'll call it, to kind of swap around with Chris Cadden when the opportunity's there. He needs to go forward. I think that's just part of his position now, and you could see him trying to throughout the game trying to get grips with that and make forward runs. And yeah, he done okay.
The thing I've got with O'Hara is that there's a couple of times where he had, like, if it was Nicky Cadden in that position, the ball would have just been whipped in the box. But it's like he gets to a certain point and then he's like, shit, I'm a centre back, I can't do this. And then he just tries to pass it to the nearest player, which is fair enough because obviously crossing isn't a big part of his game. But if he wants to do the Miller role properly, I'll need to get that involved for next season. But yeah, lads, and a few other bits to tie off as well. Dwight Gale, quite an emotional send off, obviously. He's got a derby named after him after scoring the winner at Tynecastle, I think. He's saying that he's wanting to come on the European tour with us next year, even though he's not going to be playing. Craig, it's just nice to have that like veteran presence in the squad that you can tell definitely has like an impact.
Yeah, we've obviously talked about it before, that type of player, the Grant Holt, Adam Lafondra, Dwight Gale, all these guys that are probably coming towards the end of the career. Maybe even Hoylett, well, not maybe, definitely you put Hoylett in that bracket as well. And players that have clearly played at a higher level, like Dwight Gale especially, you can just tell when he's on the park that he has played at a higher level. The touches, the flicks, the sort of positioning as well. And I think that's a role that I think every season we should be looking to fill with someone, because it seems to be very successful in a squad, maybe even from a point of view of helping youngsters as well. And I also think these guys, when they're coming towards the end of their career, they maybe don't have as much of an ego, and are certainly the ones that we've had anyway are happy to just play that squad role and happy to come off the bench and help in any way they can. They're not desperate to start games or expecting to start games, and I think that maybe just has a good influence on the squad as well.
And Liam, for Gale, do you think he's probably went out at the right time? Were you hoping for another season, or do you think it's probably best for both parties?
I think you could see it in the way he was running some games, not every week, but some games. I think it was the right time for him, definitely. And he'll know his body better than any of us do. It's definitely the right time for
him. And then, as we've advertised on the old Twitter and in group chats, we're going to be doing our start bench sell. But before we get on to that, not just Hibs ending the season well, but the under-18 started the trend, and then the women's team kept it going. Hibs are just firing on all cylinders, lads. League champions time too. I don't know too much about was it under-18s? Dara McGregor led with the coach. But obviously massive congrats to them. Any names in there that we're expecting to potentially be floating about the first team, maybe in friendlies to look forward to?
I think Dean Cleland's the one that, particularly with us probably not having many centre forwards on the books, potentially coming into the new season is potentially one. He scored obviously a barrel load of goals. Obviously, Landers moved down to West Ham, and was that the January window that Landers
went
so,
to West Ham?
So, but Cleland's been the one that scored more goals, I think, over the piece. So, I mean, I think there's potential there, but we've seen already, like, that's a really difficult transition to make without having played any first team football on the way in. In between times. I think the other one that quite hotly tipped maybe about a year or so ago. He came on in the Jamie Gullen friendly at Starks Park was Josh McDonald. I don't know what age he is now, but I think he was 15, 16 at the time. So he's maybe still only like sort of 16, 17. I don't know where he's at kind of in his sort of stage of development. He's obviously still very young, centre midfielder. But I don't know too much else about the others that are coming through.
What was the name of the young left back that came on at Easter Road? I can't
Lewis
remember
Gilly.
what game. He looked really good when he came on, to be fair.
Yeah, he looked physically certainly ready to come and play. So
Rory
potentially
Whittaker as well, obviously. He'll still be he's under 18s, is he not?
Aye, I think he'll still only be about 17. But yeah, I think well, just live in hope. It'd be good to see a few of them playing pre-season before they inevitably probably 2 or 3 of them go out on loan next season.
And it's good as well that David Gray's got a predecessor in waiting. So when he wins the treble the next 3 years, then McGregor can then take over if Gray wants to go and challenge himself elsewhere. But also in positive news, Hibs women, absolute ridiculous season they've had, to be fair. They've got to a cup final, won the league. And obviously in Scottish football, you've got the duopoly of Celtic and Rangers. Don't know if that's a word, but I like it. But in the women's side of the game, if you're not too familiar, there's Celtic, Rangers, and there's Glasgow City to contend with. So the fact that they've actually managed to usurp those teams and win the league, incredible feat. Liam, I know you caught the game. It was a really good game of football, wasn't it? Hibs were just structured and great performance.
There's a few mad stats that were flown about yesterday, but the one about they were finished 36 points behind the leaders last season. So they've essentially made up a 36-point deficit to go and win the league this season, which just shows how much of an improvement they've gone from finishing 5th last season to winning the league this year. First league trophy in 17 years. And, Hibs and Glasgow City have traditionally been the sort of dominant 2 in women's football. So it's nice to see them sitting 1 and 2 in the league, to be honest, again, because I think that's almost, it's like with tradition within the women's game, really, for those 2 teams to be at the top. So I was delighted. I thought they caught most of the game, didn't catch the whole game, so they caught most of the game yesterday. And I thought, actually, to be honest, they looked even, but you'd expect Rangers to be throwing kitchen sink at them. I thought they looked pretty comfortable, to be honest, which is testament to just how well they defended.
And Craig, getting to hear the Champions League sounds at Easter Road next year as well as the Europa League, we can't complain.
Did they get straight into the Champions League? Is that qualifiers?
I'm not sure if it's straight into group stage, but they definitely get it. I think it's playoff. I think it's the same as Celtic have got this year. Right. So I think it's if they win one game, they'd be group stage.
Right. Well, no, that'll be brilliant. I think it's obviously recently, the last sort of couple of years, there's been a lot more money flooding into the women's side of the game from a Celtic and Rangers point of view. I know they've had a decent bit of funding put in, so it makes that achievement even better, really, to have won the league and beaten these teams, Glasgow City including that as well. So a massive congratulations to them. Really, really good achievement.
On the cabbage. And one final note just before we go on to the main segment of today's show. Oh, actually, I've just thought another couple, actually. Kieran Bowie, first call up for the Scotland national team. Obviously, he missed a large portion of the season, but Clark apparently saw him. He was at the game at the weekend, must have been impressed, and obviously got his goal. I think that's big. I think with a Scotland cap on, it's good that Clark's starting to get a few more domestic players involved in the national setup. If Bowie and Wilson can form a partnership, then hopefully it's something that could be put together for years to come. I know Wilson's probably going to come off the bench and stuff, but
Wilson's miles off for being ready to play for Scotland, to be honest. But Bowie, I think, is different. I think Bowie's very much worthy of his place in the squad. Didn't really want him to get called up, though, to be honest. I would rather he had a summer holiday.
Yeah.
I should get a few weeks. I think it's, when is this? The game 6th and 9th of June, is it? So it maybe get a couple of weeks, but I suppose it'll have to be in a training camp as well. It's quite funny that Clark watches Bowie score 1 goal against Rangers and he's like, I instantly called up, get him in. Good old Steve Clark. So not delighted for him. It's I think he's going to be in the Scotland squad going forward, isn't he? So it makes sense.
And a couple of people I've seen mention it on Twitter. Do you think Nicky Cadden can feel hard done by, or do you think that's a bit of a stretch? Obviously, we've always said that area of the pitch is somewhere that we're kind of saturated in talent, so it makes sense. But it's a shame because Nicky Cadden always had a great season. I think that delivery that he's got will probably translate well to international level. But any complaints apart from that, Hibs wise?
No.
No, I think with Caden, it just depends. If we're going to play 3-5-2, he gets in the team. But if we're going to persist by a back four, Nicky Caden and Chris Caden are both quite specialist players, and I think they're wing backs really. So it's going to be difficult for them maybe to force their way
in. But yeah, well, guys, as we've mentioned a couple of times, we're going to get into. I actually really enjoy these episodes because it's not too often we let you see lovely graphics on screen that isn't just our face. But the premise of this is so for next week's episode, we're obviously going to do our transfer special and then we can identify a few targets and stuff. But for this one, it's looking at the current squad and who's going to be here because we know Jamie McGrath's coming in. And at the moment, where we see them as starters, bench players, or just realistically not going to be at the club next season. Is there anything I missed, guys? Are you happy with the premise of what I've just said?
Carry on.
Cool. No, I think the only caveat I would say is obviously there's some loan players and it's not necessarily a thing about selling them. It's like whether or not we actually want to keep them on, which we've probably trailed that a few times through the season. To be fair, what I think of the loan players.
There's a couple of players that will already be read when you see the screen, and that's just because we think realistically the club's already decided. I couldn't find an article because I think the retained list doesn't normally come through until June, so it's nothing official, but just that's why I filled some in already. Let me know when you can see and we can get started.
Carry on. Yep.
Awesome. All right. Craig, do you want to walk me through? We'll just start with the keepers. I think the keepers are relatively straightforward, but do you want to walk me through these ones here?
I think Burr 60, obviously, that's easy and move on. See you later. Max Boric already filled in. Murray Johnson is an interesting one because obviously he's how many loans has he been on now? Is it 3 or 4?
But one of them was kind of caught short after about 2 games or something. But
is that the Airdrie one and then he got sent to Queen of the South?
No, he played for Airdrie a fair bit. It was the one under Lee Johnson where we called him for Europe because the keepers were injured.
Oh, right, yes, yeah. I don't know what his reports if he's been playing at all at Queen of the South. I know he didn't play much at the start when he first went in. So I've not seen much since then. It's a difficult one because it's one that had high hopes. I'd probably send the back out on loan just now. I don't know what his contract's like. I think with a goalie, there's no need to rush. They've got longer careers than other players, than outfield players. So I'd probably just loan him out just now. Yeah. And Jordan Smith, I'd start.
Start Jordan Smith. Interesting. All right, Liam. Anything different from what Craig said there?
Just the exception of I would bench Jordan Smith. I would look to try and get someone better.
And are you in the same boat of loaning out Murray Johnson?
Aye.
Because believe it or not, Ewan, I think, relatively savage here. Because see, the thing is, Ewan can be quite edgy because he's not on to actually give any context to what he said here. But Ewan's actually said he would move on Murray Johnson, and he has he's of the mentality of us of benching Smith. For me, I think Smith, as I've said so many times, I think he's had a really good season, especially from what we expected of him. But realistically, I just think that we can have better. I know that all the stats and all the evidence say that he should be number 1 next season, but I just think if we're wanting to compete in Europe and we're going to be playing group stage football, I don't think Smith's near the level of Marciano, and that's a caliber of player I would be expecting. Is that fair, or is that putting too much pressure on the recruitment department?
I'll just jump in on that one, Harry.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to want better. I do think it is fair to want better. And I know, obviously, early in the season, I was just calling for a goalkeeper that does basic things right. And I think you get a lot of that for Jordan Smith. But also, I think the reason that I've put him start is because the shirt's his at the moment. And until anybody else better is either linked or suggested to me, I've not seen anything yet that would make him not be number 1. I think it's up to somebody to come in and take his shirt off him rather than just come in and automatically get it for me, just because I think he's got that trust now from David Gray.
Nice. And Liam, do you want to get the ball rolling on centre backs? Feel free to add any more comments to the goalkeepers, but I thought that was definitely going to be the quickest one. So if you want to start with Megwa and Bushiri, then we can kind of
Meg was
break it
centre
down
back.
in twos.
Put Meg with centre back because he's played mostly right of a back three, but he has played wing back as well sometimes with us. So
Fair enough.
Because I think for this one, because we're basing it off like this season's squad, it probably makes sense to do it more 3-5-2 than like 4-2-3-1 or whatever.
Meg would be another loan. I've not seen enough from him across the sort of 4 games in the playoffs to suggest that he's ready to come and start. And I don't really want him sitting on a bench, not playing many minutes at all for the remainder of next season. So I think that's a loan for me. And then I think Rocky, if we can keep him, I think Rocky's a starter now, which is taking me a long time to come round to the realisation that that's how it should be. But I think that's just where we're at.
I'll chime in there as well. I think that at the current moment, Rocky's the best centre back we've got at the club. I think Iredale in the back three is debatably on a par with him, but I think as an out and out defender, whether we're playing a back four or a back three, I'd personally want Rocky signed as soon as possible. So for me, that's an easy start. And again, Ewan, not too keen on the youngsters, has said move on for Megwa. So if you are wanting Ewan's opinions on that, you can badger him on the old Twitter. But Craig, your point of view, Megwa move on or loan?
I think saying Megwa move on just a year after we've given a 3 or 4 year deal is quite the take, to be honest. I don't think Partick Thistle have got too much money to be dropping on Megwa. So yeah, I'm definitely loan, and Rocky's a no-brainer, really, isn't he?
And that leads you nice. I think, being honest, these two for me are two of the hardest ones to actually determine. Because being honest, I've been flip flopping all day, so I'm not going to go first. I've got the power of the keyboard here, so I'm going to put it on your guys' hands. But I just think for what we want to do next year, I see us signing at least one, maybe two centre backs. So I don't know if we can justify keeping both Ekpiteta and O'Hora. So with that, Liam, you're scratching your chin. You're in pondering thoughts. You can kick us off.
I've just not seen enough of Ek. I think Ekpiteta gets in the team as a centre back in a three, and that's the only position he can play. I don't think he can play right or left, and I haven't seen him play there other than 50 minutes at the end of the game against Celtic at home. So I can't really honestly opine on whether or not I think he's good enough to be around. I have to say bench on the basis that I don't have the evidence to really say, and I don't really want to move him on because I thought he'd started to come on to a game in a 4 towards the end of the period, and I do think he's got the attributes to play the middle centre back. The only thing that maybe worries me a wee bit is he's nowhere near as quick as Rocky, and that's obviously a big part of how we've played, or it's been a big enabler on how we've played this season. So I think I'm just going to go sit on the fence and say bench.
Craig, Ekpiteta?
I really liked him, actually. By the time he settled down a wee bit, obviously it was quite a poor start for him, if I'm being honest. St Mirren away and Celtic Park, two notable mistakes really that gave away goals. But I thought once he settled down, he looked really good. He looked a good defender. Aerially had a lot of good attributes to him. Really good at winning headers. So that was probably the main thing you noticed. There was a game, can't remember what it was, but it was at Easter Road, and I remember sitting there, fucking hell, he's winning everything that was getting put up to him. So I think there's probably a use for that in our squad. So I'd say bench. But I do agree with the reasoning of in our current formation, I wouldn't want him playing either side of the three. I think that would just be a disaster waiting to happen, to be honest.
Based off you guys saying that, I'm like, you are almost convincing me to Ewan's point of view of move on. I think Ewan's not really been justifying these. He justified a couple, but I think, not wanting to put words in his mouth, but it is just kind of either O'Hora or Ekpiteta, I think, is kind of the question in his head. And just because he's got the bigger sample size of O'Hora, I think that's why he leans towards him. I'm actually going to be a shite bag, and I'm going to say bench for O'Hora as well. Part of me thinks that O'Hora is kind of okay at everything and not particularly great at one thing. And that does worry me. And I think there's a few games in which he's been caught out. I think he's still kind of getting used to playing in the back three. I think Aberdeen away, is one that sticks out, in which he just kind of looks lost from time to time. Obviously, the start of the season with a goalkeeper that wasn't good enough for the club behind him, none of the defence looked good enough, so I kind of drew him a blank slate. But yeah, I just don't want to be too harsh on him, so I'm going to say bench. But out of the two, I'd probably keep Teta over O'Hora. But Liam, I know you're a bigger O'Hora fan than me.
I'd start
what's
him.
your point of view? You'd start him.
I'd start him. Yeah, I think I think either in the middle of the three if Rocky goes, or on the right of a three if he stays.
Craig?
So it's an interesting one because I think he severely lacks a yard of pace. A couple of times I've seen him getting absolutely burned. Aberdeen away with Topi Keskinen was just ripping him, to be honest. Every time we faced him up, he was going to beat him, and that was the end of it. The last couple of games have probably brought me around a wee bit more to him. And if you were to, it was just interesting now when you said Ewan was looking at it, if it was Ekpiteta or O'Hora, and I'd probably go with Ewan as well if I had a choice, purely because I think O'Hora is more flexible in our squad. I think he can play in more of the positions. But I'm still going to shake back, say bench.
It's annoying, Liam, that we've got the sit on the fence option, isn't it? You've been bolder and you've just been like starting, and me and Craig have been the shite bags. But majority rules, so bench it is. Is there even point in discussing Iredale? I think he's probably one of the easiest starts for next season on the whole.
Start, an absolute lock.
Aye. Just give some context, just because the guys are listening. Just how good has Jack Iredale been since he came in the team?
Player.
So good.
Left-footed centre half that you've been harping on about for years. I know we obviously didn't think he was at the start because he kind of came in as more of a left wing back, if I remember correctly.
He got thrown in the game. Was it away to Dundee United where we were 2-1 up and then we conceded? But we were down to 10 men and stuff. That was a bit of a shit show game.
It was a bad period. That, to be fair, it's not exactly a great first game. No, he looks good. He looks fast. Recovery pace is there, which I think, obviously, we've said previously, especially with Rocky, it's important in the system that we play. Maybe the two of them, Rocky and Iredale, if we can both get them starting, kind of can cover for the other two in terms of recovery pace, or the other one in terms of recovery pace, I should say. He's been so good, so good for Hibs.
Yeah, and obviously got our goal of the season as well. So even though he's a defender, he's doing it all, guys. He's doing it all. If you'd asked me after 7 games into the season, I would have quoted a former employee of ours and said I would have driven back to Australia ourselves. But I think that Lewis Miller, since the turn of the year, has been brilliant. I think he's personally played himself into a starting position. I know we've got him down as a wing back here, but I'd personally have him in the right centre back position over O'Hora myself. I just think that he's got. I think he's an athlete first and a footballer second, and I think that playing in the right centre back position in this current team setup suits him perfectly because he's got the cover behind the man in the midfield. That it kind of covers up the flaws of his game, in my opinion. So for me, he's a starter. Liam, talk to me about Lewis Miller.
He's been very good on the right of a free. I suspect he'll move on this summer, to be honest. I think the fact that he only did a 1-year extension, I think, probably indicates that I think we're trying to look to get what we can for the asset. So I would imagine he'll move on. I personally would bench him, though.
And was that bench with thinking O'Hora would start there for you, or
he becomes a starter if Rocky goes, basically.
Okay, gotcha. Craig?
I'd start him. I think maybe similar to Trantis. He's a player that was getting not played out of position because that is his position, but just maybe naturally found a position that suits him and his attributes better in the right centre half of the three. So I'd start him in there.
Nice. For the youngsters, if you've got anything to say, we can talk about it, and if not, we can. For the most part, for these, I'm just going to loan them out because I don't know too much about them. But have either of you got anything to say about Oscar McIntyre for now?
Just that he's had another loan. He's gone back to Queen of the South, where he'd had an unsuccessful loan last season, had a much better loan this season. He's done very well by all accounts, but it's obviously still League One level. They didn't manage to get promoted either, so I think he's maybe still got another year to run his deal. So I think it's another development loan with the hope that he really kicks on. Aye.
Any disagreements there, Craig?
No.
Nice. Ewan's apparently just decided that anybody that's knowing the first team is just getting moved on. We don't care about loans anymore. We're just getting them at the club. But we'll do it in another two. Liam, you can talk to us. Jordan Abita and Chris Cadden.
Jordan Levit is probably the harshest one that I'm going to bench because I think he is a player who probably should be starting based on how he's performed, but he's obviously up against someone who's extremely effective in his position, so it's a harsh bench. I'm going to still start Chris Cadden for now, but I do think that we will try to bring in someone down that right-hand side who can provide us a similar level of quality that we get from the left. It'd be very difficult to replicate that, and I really I love what Chris Cadden brings the team, but I think it's been brought into quite sharp view, and the quality is so good on the left-hand side that we don't have that same quality of delivery from the right.
And Craig?
Yeah. See, this is one that I struggle with a wee bit because in terms of bench or start, like is it at an 11 that we're building, or is it? Do I think Jordan Abita is a starting quality player? And I would say yes, he is.
Yeah.
So with that logic, I would say start. But I wouldn't start him in place of Nicky Cadden, if you know what I mean. So all that being said, I'll start him.
Nice. Because there's a couple for me in which we'll come on to, but it's kind of like, it's almost like this year we should have added like a rotation option. Because with the volume of games that we're expecting to have,
that's what bench is, though. Bench is just a rotation option. Like it's just the same thing, isn't it? I mean, I would agree with Craig. He's a starting quality player, so I would say start. But you're not. If you make an 11, you can't fit him, Iredale, and Cadden all into the same 11.
Aye,
Nicky Cadden, that is.
Aye. That just makes sense. We tried it once away to Aberdeen when we were 1-0 down for the first time in about 17 games, and it didn't go very well when we had far too many left-sided centre back wing backs on the pitch at the same time. And what did you say for Chris Cadden, Craig?
Start. I'd start him. Yep, absolutely.
And well, it's 2-1. Ewan's opinion's less valid because he's not on the pod this week, so we'll put that down as a start. Then that'll be on the bench. Cool. Ewan's being a savage, man. The kid's like, what, 17 or 18 or so?
Did you know that there was a loan option, or is he maybe just getting confused and move on as his way of saying loan?
I don't know.
Remember when he done this list?
I don't think he's of sane mind today. Well, I would argue he's really of sane mind, to be fair, but I think he's also today.
But yeah, and Rory Whittaker, I believe he didn't have the best spell. Was it Spartans he was at?
I got cut short though. He's been back at the club for quite a while now.
Yeah, I think. But sometimes it's just trying to find the right fit for you. So hopefully we can get out to a club that kind of suits his needs better. And Nicky Cadden, probably another. If he's Player of the Year, surely he's a candidate actually for Craig's most improved Player of the Year for next season. But apart from that, he's surely a starter.
Very good.
Class.
Right. But being honest, this isn't a slight on Nicky Cadden just because I've mentioned that he's Player of the Year. I actually think that Martin Boyle, when you look at his goal contributions, how is he no one Player of the Year? You know what I mean? Like, his season was actually insane. Ended with over 30 goal contributions. That's wild for a Hibs player.
Do you know what? I don't know, maybe if because his season got, like the rest of the squad, I suppose, off to such a questionable start, and scored the goals in the League Cup, but that doesn't really count, does it? I think maybe he just slipped under the radar, and then right towards the end of the season was when he was really in his best form. And I think by that time, there maybe been other players like Triantis, Nicky Cadden had already kind of established themselves as the players of the season. That's my excuse for that one, because I didn't vote him either.
Like, as I say, if I was to have voted him, I would have voted for. Like, if I was to have voted, I would have went for Rocky myself. But I just thought I'd throw it out. There's some food for thought.
Well, Rocky's the reason. You're the reason Rocky didn't win.
Exactly, mate. It's disgusting. And Rocky, I'm sorry, mate, but you signed the contract and it'll be all better. Talk to me, Craig. Jonio.
Start. He's a starting quality player for Hibs. He's captain. He's been injured, but he's still starting quality. So I still go back to my sort of point with Eade that I maybe wouldn't start him over somebody at the moment, but he's definitely in the starting bracket for me.
Any disagreements there, Liam?
No.
I'll be honest. I've put him as bench, but it's just
Predictable
So
because
as fuck.
predictable.
so predictable. But the thing is, for me, I think we've had a fantastic stint. I think that Dylan Levit has been absolute gravy. And obviously, I'm hoping to get Nectar Triantis back because for me, like I don't have any problem with Jonio starting when he's on form. I think he's great, but I just think that if you've been out for a prolonged period of time, you have to when you're starting spot back. I don't think that if the season started tomorrow and he was fully fit, I wouldn't start him over Triantis and Levitt. Is my logic for having him on
Bearing in
bench.
mind, Harry, I accept the logic that you finished with there. But bearing in mind that Jonio was a key part of us starting that good form as well. He was really, really good in the last few games before he got injured as well. Just thought I'd throw that one in there.
All right, Craig, that made absolutely no impact to me having him on the bench, but I thank you for that comment. Alan Delphi, uh, is he out? I think he's got one more year left, hasn't he?
At least he signed like a 3 or 4 year deal last season.
Yeah.
So
I was excited with him. He was one of the ones that played it towards the end of the season, and I thought he looked really good. But
he was a gets it merchant, eh?
Yeah, fact. But are we agreeing on move on? Just
Yeah, I
Luxembourg
think so.
football doesn't impress me. Commission Shania Twain, that don't impress me much. But aye.
Seems a lovely guy though.
Exactly. That's all that matters. Big one. Craig, your player of the year to be Josh Campbell. Talk to me.
Ooh. Now there is a difficult one. I can't. I feel like I'm going to be disloyal here by saying bench, but I think bench is probably the fairest thing at the moment to say. I think if I said start, it would maybe be a bit delusional because I just love him that much. But he's a bench player that will regularly start games. If you kind of understand where I'm coming from, I think he'll be very important in the European games and sort of when we're rotating in and out of the European games because obviously his fitness is clear for everybody to see, and I think that he'll be able to play in and out of games on a regular basis. So, yeah.
And talk to me about Alisson and Mane as well. Is there any way for you that he could? I suppose if you got John Yule starting, then Mane can't really start, can he?
No, but I'll be honest, Harry, I'm kind of not looking at it as an 11. I'm more just looking
I
at
get
it
you.
as who do I see as starting players. But what we've seen from Alisson and Mane at the moment is far too little. We couldn't possibly say, for me anyway, we couldn't possibly say anything other than bench. I don't think he's had a fair. That's not me like saying everything in the world's against him or anything. I just don't think realistically he's not had a fair crack at the whip yet to show that he is a starter yet. Hopefully that'll come and hopefully he gets his way into the team because if he does, then that would mean we're be doing well if he's getting rid of Levit and Triantis, that sort of mould of player. So yeah, I think it's too early to comment anything other than bench.
Aye, because the thing is for me, I'll give you Josh Campbell too. For Josh Campbell, I think I said it at the start of the season. I think I hit the nail on the head. I think he's a player. I think David Gray deserves great credit as well because I think he's used him very well. I think he's the type of player that needs to play for a few games and he'll have really good purple patches, but then he'll also have periods in which he kind of falls away and loses his form quite drastically. So for me, I think bench is a fair spot for him. But as you say, it's not because he's not good enough. It's just because it suits his style.
Yeah.
I think Gray's done well to because every year if something goes mildly wrong, people will say, "Oh, Josh Campbell couldn't even play non-league football in Scotland." It's like, no, Josh Campbell is brilliant for Hibs, and if he was at another team, he would be brilliant for them. But he just needs times where he can rotate with other players, in my opinion. Sorry, Liam, I've been rambling. Are you in agreement for bench for both Campbell and Mane?
I'd start Campbell and bench Mane.
Yes,
Start
I
Campbell.
fucking love it.
I
Nice.
just think he'll start more games than he'll be on the bench. You know, I think whereas Obita and Thingley, I think there's only really two positions up for grabs. Sorry,
Yeah.
one position with Obita and Cadden. I think there's more positions up for grabs with Campbell. So I think he'll start more than he'll be on the bench, especially in Europe. Like, can you imagine games with home in Europe? How valuable his energy, his athleticism will be.
Yeah.
I think it's a start for me.
That was kind of the reason I was pointing to as well. That I think he will be a player that is starting loads of games, but maybe if you're looking at it as a first strength 11 player, you would have others in instead.
Aye.
Indeed. And Ruben McAllister, he was one that was brought in with quite good pedigree because we actually paid money for him, did we not?
125 grand.
Jeez. Is he any time left on the deal? My kind of point of view is if they're young, then put them on loan, and then if they're out of contract, kind of move them on.
I have no idea about McAllister. I'll come back to me on that one. I think
feel
he's
like
still
he's
got time left.
expiring.
Oh, do you? All right.
I had a feeling that in the announcement they maybe said that he was out of contract.
Right.
Could be wrong. That's just a hunch.
3-year deal in 2023, so no, he's still got a year left. No, sorry, Craig, you're right. 2022 it was. Just he shows in the youth team for the first year, so I think he's done.
Move on.
Aye. Expensive experiment, but aye.
There was the assistant's son. That's why we got him.
Aye.
Aye.
Wouldn't normally pay a fee to say the coach's laddie, though.
Could have got Lee Johnson a bit of high share with that money. But just before we go into the second half of the squad, Liam, do you want to run us through some of the YouTube comments?
Yes, I do. Jay and Sandy, watching as always. Cheers, said Boyle and Bowie with Hoylett trawling. I think he means trailing just behind them, waiting for a ball from Levit or Manny. Sounds good to me for the first game of 25-26. Don't mind it. Kenny Whitson saying Rangers fans moaning they pump 2 million per season into women's football. 2 million a season and couldn't get the job done. Unlucky. A couple of comments there about Cadden's down the wing, sounding promising. Aye, and then just people just keeping up to speed with us really in terms of the players. Lots of people in agreement. The only one really that's controversial is Chris Black, who sided with you, who said, I'm not sure Newell is a starter for me. I think he's a bench player. And then a few people just taking the mick out of Ewan generally, which I can always get on board with. Is Ewan still pissed? Yes, I think is the answer. Judging on his Thomas Hajipong video for last night. And then Hibs Jaden said, for Chris Cadden's been poor recently, can definitely improve in that position. Hopefully, I'm not being too harsh. Just feel his dribbling and decision making at times is poor. I think that's a criticism people have had for a while, to be fair. But
who was that for? Sorry,
that is a bit harsh.
Chris Cadden.
I've got to disagree with that. I think Chris Cadden's been very good recently, but I suppose that's opinions. It's football at the end of the day.
Can I just dig out Ewan because I think it's fun? Like, see, when I'm drunk these days, like I just do my best to like avoid my phone. But for some reason, it's like Ewan's got like the drunker Ewan's gets, the more his phone gets stuck in his hand. There's
either a video or a voice note.
One of the circle. The video in the circle. It was a topper, man. So good.
And just to say, any controversial tweets when the first season we done down the slope, Ewan sometimes I was like, Ewan, you're gonna have to start signing off these tweets, mate, because this does not represent the pod. Daft. But Ewan, we love him. He's Raj, but he's a good Raj. Speaking of someone who's hopefully going to be a good Raj for Hibs, Jamie McGrath. Liam, first of all, did I pronounce that correctly? Second of all,
you did, and thank you for pronouncing it correctly, because I've heard a lot of people getting it wrong, and it is starting to get on my wick already. He's not even played for the club yet, and he's like the new Ellie Johan. It's just I just like Jamie McGrath. It's no hard. It's like Paul McGrath. It's just McGrath. Thank you. Well done, Harry.
Yes. And talk to me. Do you reckon he's a starter for you?
100%. 100%.
Craig?
Start. I think he was one of Aberdeen's better players last year and was missed when he was injured, obviously, for that long period of time.
You didn't say move him on.
And a good song that I look forward to singing.
What was that, Craig? Give us a rendition.
I couldn't possibly. I just going off of Ewan's edginess, I don't think it would be appropriate with it.
Right. What's the tune? You don't have to sing the song, but I can't
actually.
Okay, yep. All right, I'm following you. Yep. Wonderful. The only thing is, mine's will, if he does anything positive at the weekend, my start will swiftly move on to decapitate. It would be unacceptable for him to score in that bloody final, I swear to God.
I'm looking forward to him chucking in a nuke on Saturday. Like,
Own goal, please.
Own goal, red card, sensational.
FIFA style own goal when you're trying to rage quit a game and you just put it into your own net.
Oh God. Get disconnected. Anyway, guys, it's a bit of a sad one because I think one that it's fair to say we'd all have at the start. Being honest, you can look back when he rejoined the club. I actually celebrated with a shot when we were live on stream, but we were quite nonchalant when Nectar Triantis came back to Hibs, and it's fair to say he shut us up as well as the entire fan base. He's had a brilliant season. Craig tried to pretend that he was absolutely buzzing that he was back, but
I did. I put him a sign in the season, mate.
All right, good for you. Anyway, do you reckon there's any chance we get him back?
I'm feeling a bit more positive about it now than I was before, to be honest. There's been a bit more positive rumblings than I was expecting. To be honest, I'd kind of written the entire thing off due to his form, but I know some of the stuff his agent's been saying, and then obviously there's been a few newspaper articles that have said that we're trying to get it done. So, yeah, hopefully, but I still would feel doubtful. I'd be so surprised if a bigger club somewhere in Europe doesn't come in and take him, to be honest, because he's got bags of ability and bags of potential that for a larger club, surely that's worth the risk.
I think if the St. Pauli links are genuine, I think that's probably dead in the water. But I think all I would say, I would be wanting them to win anyway, but I think I'd be supporting Sunderland in the playoff final. I think that increases our chances if they go up.
Because the thinking for me as well is I think Bowie shows, and then he shows as well, like if you play well for Hibs or you play well for any of the team that's trying to compete for Europe and Scottish football, it can get you international football. He'll be having eyes on the upcoming tournaments and stuff, wanting to cement himself in the Australia team. So European football, if we can get the group stage that we're after and he can put on a show for 6 games, like that will get himself more on the map than getting paid more at a championship club. So fingers crossed his agent does the right thing and he gets himself back to Easter Road. And a player that's so weird because when he came to the club, absolutely brilliant. We were all ecstatic about him signing. He had a great first couple of games, fell away, and now he just kind of plays against the old firm and plays really well. Nathan Mariah Welsh, I think, is a very easy bench for me. But I do feel bad for him because I do think that like he's got the potential to be a starter, but I just don't know when he can actually break into the team.
Yeah,
it's a funny one, eh? Funny one. I'd have him as a bench as well. I certainly wouldn't want to lose him for the squad. I think he's really good in some games where he comes in and plays. I wonder how much, because he obviously started the first game of the season against St Mirren. I wonder how much that performance he had in the first game of the season against St Mirren made Gray's sort of trust in him sort of dissipate a wee bit, because he didn't really get seen for a long time after that. And I just think he's a very, very capable player in this league because of his attributes and mainly his athleticism.
Yeah, I've got no arguments for anything that's been said there, to be honest. I think it is, based on performance, harsh that he's not been starting, but I think that's just a realistic nature of our squad at the moment, that he's not been able to get in ahead of some of these guys that have been performing really well.
Not trying to suggest a positional change, but do you think he's maybe got the attributes to play right wing back?
I'd need to see his delivery more.
Yeah, because
that's
the
such a
thing
key
is with
part.
me, I remember there was a time where people on Twitter were saying could like Cadden, like Chris Cadden translate well to like kind of box to box, just because, especially not this year, but when he first signed, he was a bit more of an energetic player.
He had a brilliant
Like
game at Tynecastle playing centre midfield, Chris Cadden.
Aye. So it's like, and I do see like quite a lot of the attributes Mariah Welsh and Cadden have are relatively similar. So I don't actually hate the shit. I actually think there's.
Did he not play right wing back?
Yeah.
I'm sure he played right wing back some game at Easter Road. Maybe we had a man sent off or something like that.
I think that was against Celtic or Rangers under Montgomery.
I don't remember. Sticking in my memories and playing him right wing back.
Right. Well, I hope this next one, I'll get kick-started. I want Molotnikov to get minutes, and I don't think he gets minutes at Hibs next season. I think a loan to a promotion pushing championship team in my head would be ideal for him. Where do you guys stand on the Lotnikov?
Loan. Go and play 40 games next season on loan.
Yeah. Yep. I think it'd be good for him to get minutes in proper men's football. Probably like a Josh Campbell, Ryan Poacher style loan, goes out on loan and then comes back in as a first team player.
Perfect. And are we all in agreement? One more year.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. One more year.
Top quality player, top quality pro. Seems like a good influence around the dressing room. And I think he's one that offers you that undeniable quality off the bench as well when you need a wee bit of prowess. And he can start games as well still. I have no issue with him starting games, so I'll definitely have him in there.
The only thing is, do you think that, because for me, I think McGrath probably comes in the position that Hoylett and Campbell have been sharing this season, where they're just kind of slightly advanced, so they don't have to do as much leg work as the rest of the team do. I know Campbell does it, but when Hoylett starts in that position, he just kind of like floats around and backs up the strikers. Do you think that with McGrath coming in, that could potentially be a reason they would move Hoylett on? Just throw it out there as conversation.
I think they could do the sort of Miko and Bowie role that they've been doing this season. One gets 60 minutes, one gets 30. That type of thing.
I think they could also do the sort of two split tens as well. Like you could play two tens and behind a striker, which is becoming quite vogue again in football. I definitely, you look at Hoylett's position, even when he sort of plays in that central area, he does tend to drift out to the left because that's where he's most comfortable coming in on the right foot. So I'm up for that. I'm definitely up for keeping him for another year.
Nice. And next one for me, that's my king right there. Dylan Levit, you are starting every week, baby. You know, start. And any disagreements from that?
No, absolutely not.
I'd start him. That means I've got 5 centre midfielders starting, but no hassle.
I think you and Ewan did him justice on the last episode. Just to say, guys, if you're wanting some good vibes in your life, listen to Liam and Ewan after we got Europe midweek. Very good vibes, nice and positive. It's a very lovely episode. Even after the Rangers game, I didn't get around to it until yesterday. So that was good vibes. But yeah, Dylan Levitt, I just think he's the last couple of months especially, he's really shown to be the player that we really wanted him to be. I still remember being ill and in a tent on the Iron Islands, and I was instantly healed when Dylan Levitt signed for Hibs because I was buzzing. I've been singing his praises the entire time because I think he's excellent, and I just love Dylan Levitt. If you guys want to add anything else, feel free.
He was really good when he came on.
Brilliant, eh?
I didn't even realise he was on the bench on Saturday. He just came on and he was brilliant. He's
some player.
Not sure about the haircut. That's the only thing. I take points off him maybe for the haircut. Everything else is great. I think he's another player. I think he'll be brilliant in European games. He was so good over the 180 minutes against Luzern. Brilliant in those 2 games. I think he'll be really, really good in European games. I think European football suits that sort of style of player perfectly.
And his ankle fucker away to Lucerne. That was sort of his big injury. He went off in that game, I think.
I'd forgotten about that. I'd forgotten about that. But I mean, the home game with him and Newell playing in
he's a brilliant player. And see, just on when he came on Saturday, I don't know if you guys felt the same, but when he came on, it felt it's not to be harsh on Manny, but it felt like we were playing a rotated side to start with, and then it was like, all right, here come the big dogs now. Here comes Levitt. Like that, there's our starter coming on, and it felt like it just made us better instantly. So yeah, start.
This is music to my ears, guys. I love Dylan Levitt. Up next, Murray Aitken, is he in contract?
I think he's maybe out of contract. I think Murray Aitken's a move on from me. He's at an age now where he's a bit older than some of the other young players. He was, academy player of the year, I think 3 seasons ago. He's had some loan spells that have been worked out really well. He's also had some really difficult injuries. So, aye.
You filled move on for me there, and I feel quite harsh about that because I actually did sell Murray Aitken to Celtic on Football Manager for £6 million. So I'm still holding out hope that maybe in real life we can get that as well.
Nice one, mate.
But
Well
moving
done.
on.
And one player that we were all excited when he signed. I actually think of the transfer signings, this was one of the guys that actually got the most hype. But Kwon it just didn't work out for him, did it? Just didn't work out
Ewan had him as his player of the year.
Player of the year.
Nah, Ewan went for Quan for player of the year on the strength of his first couple of performances. So
Listen, I know he's not here, but we were all drawn into early doors. If we're being completely honest, we were. He was
some
good.
more than others, but yes.
Can I just throw in there, Liam? The reason that Craig said that is because I believe there was an episode in which Craig said all the money that we were trying to give to Dundee for McCowan, we should give to Celtic for Quan, and that's why Craig
I've not
just
seen
wanted to
this.
cover his
Harry's
own
not
back.
backing us up with anything other than Harry's word.
That is
I'll
a
try and
tough one,
find
Craig.
it.
That is a
Sorry,
tough one.
sorry about that, lads.
Okay, that's all right, mate. These things happen. I've definitely had a few stinkers. Go and watch the episode back. I think it was the one in which Ewan said he'd be scared if we were playing St. Johnstone without Triantis, and I went on a big massive tangent about how Ewan was an idiot for being scared. And then look how good Triantis turned out to be. But anyway, happy with the midfield, lads. Nice wee splash of colour in there.
Aye. No,
I don't think there's anything too controversial.
I don't think it's a position that we need to go out and sign loads of players, put it that way. If we were to get Triantis, probably be comfortable, and get Hoylett tied down for another year, probably comfortable just leaving it at that for next season.
The thing, it does depend on, like, obviously, as we say, the jury's out until he can prove himself pre-season under him. It does depend on Manny. Like, if Manny doesn't turn out to be the player we want him to, then I definitely want another option as well. But
no, I've got trust in them on the Manny one, to be honest. I think people are reading too much into the fact he hasn't played. To be honest, I think we signed him in the January knowing that we were going to get time to work on. I believe that there was a view that he was physically not quite ready to go in and compete, and I think also just adjusting to the speed of the game. I think Manny will be just fine.
Nice. And then I've filled in the first two just because I think they're quite obvious stick-ons. I think Kieran Bowie, after he gets another one that after he gets a pre-season and when he hopefully any form of injury worries that the club's still got, kind of they can mend him through that over the summer, having a prolonged period off. And Tavares probably going to stick to the club just because his contract is still going. But yeah, any comments on Bowie? Well, we won't mention Tavares. I don't really see any need to bash him when he's not been at the club this season. But Bowie, Craig, definite starter.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Tavares now. I kind of there's part of me that does want to bash him, but he seems a nice guy, so I'll avoid that one. But Bowie, unbelievable. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him next season. I'm getting Dundee United away, Dundee at home, like just him just powering past folk and smashing the ball into the net. So can't wait to see it.
Nice. Anything to add on our latest internationalist, Liam?
He's done internationalist yet till he's played. I'm very happy with that acquisition. I think he'll be much better next season once he's the full pre-season too.
There's nothing better than when you tip a player to sign for the club and they sign and they're actually pretty good. So I'll give you that one, Liam. You were in on Bowie for a while. But next up, seems to be controversial. For me, this is going to be a controversial one. Get him back, get him a corner flag around Europe. I love Ellie Yuan. He's got time left on the contract. And I think that if we can get the attitude or whatever the problem is sorted, I think he'll be great. He was tremendous against Luzerne, and I think he would do more good than bad if he was to be at the club next season with a good attitude. If he was to leave on a free after scoring 15 goals and laying off 10, I'd be very happy at the end of next season. I know people are saying there's an attitude problem, but I think ability-wise, if European football is something that will keep him on the straight and narrow, I personally have him starting.
Bumsook, absolute bumsook, Harry.
In what way is that a bumsook?
I just think everything that's gone on with Yuan, it's time to move on now. It's done. I don't think he wants to be at Hibs, so I think if a player doesn't want to be at the club, then see you later for me.
Pains me to say it, but move on. I think the fact that we're having to go back so far in time to reference the last time he had a good game shows, just because he hasn't played. Like it's kind of sad. It's sad for both us and for the player because he's a player who probably should have left 12 months ago. Got a really good move somewhere, for a princely sum, and instead he's probably going to move on for maybe even less than what we paid for him.
I do love Ellie. Yeah, I just couldn't see myself putting him anything else apart from start. Martin Boyle, Liam, I'll let you kick off.
Start.
Just can't have that many goal contributions and not start, I guess.
Player we'd all written off as well. I think most of us had written off, to be honest, as well. Just, he has been, so many players have been pivotal in this run, but he's been right up there at the top. Absolutely phenomenal numbers. Sometimes he doesn't even play well, but he comes up with the numbers, and that's all that matters really at the end of the day for forward players, isn't it?
I'm not right in saying his mum had almost written him off as well. I'm sure after he scored at Pataudry, he put something up like his mum saying finally or whatever.
Aye.
No, Craig, he's some character as well. Like I'll never forget the group of players we had when what's that show that we used to do when we were in the championship?
Outside the box. You reference that at least once a month
mate,
on this.
I love it. But like he was just so perfect. And you know the one where they're watching the Scottish Cup final back and him and McGinn and Cummings. Was it? Is it? No, Keatings was it?
Keatings.
All three. The three of them going mental. Like Boyle's just brilliant, isn't he?
I remember McGinn was in that actually.
McGinn definitely was. I don't know if Cummings was.
There's not really much needs to be said about Boyle. Everybody knows what a guy is. Unbelievable personality, and it seems like he's one of these guys that's just loved by everybody. I could imagine him being quite annoying if you were sharing a room with him, to be fair, but start.
If we were playing a game, what Hibs player would you least like to be trapped in the elevator with for 3 hours? I think Boyle would be up there for.
He just sit and poke you and like annoy you.
Absolute fact. But one that I think will also split the fan base though. Mikola, I'm not going to say the second name because I'll still butcher it. Craig, where do you stand on Mikola?
This is one that genuinely up until starting even now, I honestly don't know because his recent form has probably swayed me definitely prior to the last 6-7 games. I would have been moved on, but he seems to have found a lovely sort of groove of form. I'm going to say move on. I'm going to try and not be too reactionary, too recency bias, and take it over a much larger sample size of the season. I would say move on.
Liam?
It's a move on for me. He has been much improved, but I think pretty much what Craig said. You have to judge them over the piece, and there's obviously exceptions to that. We probably judged a lot of these players on what they've done over the last 20 or so games rather than the whole season, but he is a move on for me. I just think we can probably get better for potentially less money as well.
That was the exact same thing for me. I think realistically Swansea will be commanding quite a big fee for him. I think is it only a year?
So. I don't think they'll. I think they would just let him go, to be honest.
Really? Because did they not like spend a fair bob to get him?
Aye, but
would they tempt you as a free?
I genuinely don't think they'll command very much, if anything at all, for him.
Fair
I just don't think he's not. I know they obviously paid money for him, but if you look at it, he didn't really kick a ball for them last season. He's been injured for a lot of this season. I think his injury record would put a lot of clubs off as well, because I think his injuries were not as bad this time as it was during his first spell, unless I'm mistaken. I think he was injured more during his first spell, but he still was ruled out for quite a long period. Then when he came back, he just didn't quite look sharp, if that makes sense. Like he wasn't a particularly sustained injury, but he's never really looked quite right for quite a long period of time. And that's where we were all like jumping up and down saying he needs to play Bowie, he needs to play Bowie, he needs to play Bowie. But Bowie was in the same position where he was just coming back. So I think someone who's, got a more reliable fitness record and is maybe a bit more mobile and a bit more robust next season would be what I'd be going after.
I'd say the difference as well is that Bowie was able to make an impact in some way, shape or form, be it off the bench, quite a lot quicker than Miko was. Like it took a lot of time for Miko to get to the stage where he could have an impact, even from the bench.
Miko's definitely a more subtle sort of centre forward though than Bowie, isn't he? And that you notice a lot of what Bowie does because he does go charging into things and drags people around with him, whereas Miko doesn't really do that, despite him being physically probably capable of doing it. So he doesn't maybe catch the eye as much. But even having said that, I think he's definitely a move on for me.
I wouldn't be disappointed if he came on a free transfer. Like if we signed him for free on a decent sort of wage deal, I wouldn't be disappointed. That's where I stand.
Yeah, but I'd say that'd be a lot of players. Anyway, last one we've got is Dylan Vente. Hibs number 9 as the song went. Ewan was instantly in there with move on. Any disagreements?
No, similar to what I said with Ewan, it's a player who has done a lot of good. Well, he was decent for us, let's say. But Ewan more so obviously done a lot of good for Hibs. But he's a player who doesn't want to be at the club, so see you later. Fair play, all the best. But yeah, move on.
Aye, I think we'll negotiate quite a good fee for him as well. He's done well, hasn't he, in the Eredivisie? So I think we'll negotiate a good fee for him, which will mean it makes sense, and it's just more money to maybe plough back into the years of the playing squad. Gives us a wee bit of money to go and sign Ronan Hale in the summer.
Okay. My thinking is it's just the caliber of teams. Like there's been rumours of like even Ajax supposedly sniffing around. So for me, I think we could get a decent.
There's not a fucking chance he's going to Ajax.
I know. It was one rumour, but you never know. But
£40 million, please.
There's more chance of Dylan McGeoch going to Ajax than Dylan Vente. Like, no.
Could run out his contract.
Dream is dead. Anyway, lads, I'll quickly go down the list. If there's any that you think last second you'd like to change, let me know. If you're listening to this is great. This is great audio.
And if you're wondering about the player who Harry said one more year about earlier, it was Junior Hoylett or David Wayne Hoylett, I believe. Give him his correct name.
If a Hibs fan's saying one more year, it's either going to be Bushiri or Hoylett at this current moment in time. Or
Tavares. Because he's here for one more year.
Right. And that'll be getting filled in next week, people. We'll be telling you who we're wanting
Put me down for Ronan Hale just now while you're at it.
Okay.
Alisson as well.
Ronan Hale, 16 goals and 40. Craig hates strikers that score goals, so put him down. There we go. Nice one. Thank you. You don't like that shout either, so I'll enjoy that. I'd have Ronan Hale, Liam Scales,
fuck off.
And who else does Ewan dislike? And I play that Ewan dislikes. It's really good. Adi King. I'll come back to you on that one.
Robbie D's for you.
Sean Mackey.
There we go. Ewan's on fire. Who can I throw in for the signing?
What's the boy Deepo Akinyemi up to these days?
Oh, legend. And who's that one that used to play for Livingston, the striker? Went on loan to Arbroath. Oh, I forgot his name.
Jamie Hamilton.
No, Jamie Hamilton. Jack Hamilton, that's the one. We'll bring him in as well. We'll be banging in the goals in Europe. All right, well, I'll stop everybody that's watching now getting bored by me doing my nonsense. But lads, what a season it has been. And we've got one regular episode left next Monday, which will
season review.
Season review. And
once we know what's happening.
Exactly. It's always crap to support another team, but at least we'll be wearing green and white on Saturday anyway.
Next week's going to be a good one, by the way. Next week's going to be good because we've got season review. We've got, reviewing what has happened on this Saturday, the transfer targets, and we get to sit up and look at all the places that we're going to in Europe and have a wee speculate over the trips that we're going to have.
Oh, Hibs away. I like it. Aye, and on that very happy note, if I can ever remember how to stop live streams, I've not done this in months, guys. But thanks so much for thanks so much everybody for listening and watching, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Nabs.
This is us just acting normally.